This is Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman. You're listening to the Nerdcast on ProjectNerd.com.
Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
I knew it. I knew you were bluffing. I knew he was bluffing.
You're listening to the Nerdcast.
I feel like I should say something smart.
With Adam, Bob, Iggy, and Tyler.
You mustn't be afraid to dream a little bigger, darling.
Only on Project Nerd.
That is one big pile of shit.
Nine.
Hey, that's neat.
Look at technology working out. Everything's coming up, Miller.
We live in the goddamn future here, guys.
Hey, have you guys seen like all the stuff about the Jetsons and how much of the world they got right now? Like how many things they watching anything you want on the television and starting it whenever you wanted to start it, ordering food, doing video calls with literally everybody.
Robots that vacuum the house for you.
Yeah, I mean, literally, they picked the entire future in the Jetsons. We're just missing the flying cars.
We haven't also polluted the Earth in a way that we have to live like 1,000,000 miles in the air.
We're getting there. We're getting there,
but we're not there yet.
We're better right now. The thing that always weirded me out about the Jetsons, how are the two biggest companies in the world? They just make sprockets, like gears. Like, I mean, that's all they do, right? So you got Spacely sprockets and
I feel like the sprockets only became
actually
a gear. Like, I feel like sprockets were just a word they used to like represent that they made a thing that was never explained. I feel like it didn't become the actual like gear sprocket until the Jetsons movie, when he had to move to where the factory was and you saw the sprockets being made, because then the little teddy bear looking things would wreck the thing, and it was a whole.
Or maybe it's
I really liked that movie when I was a kid.
Maybe it's just the idea that they own everything. You're just seeing the one division that Jetson works for. Like, they're probably the two companies that are left. It's Amazon and Google.
That's what it is.
So this is the Nerdcast 229, brought to you by Geek Garage, geek-garage.com. Check it all out. If you head on over their social media, I don't know if it's going to be on the site, but the social media for sure, you're going to be able to check out this weekend. They're doing a bunch of car parades. We call them car parades. I didn't call them drive-bys, Adam. Car parades. And they're actually called because they're the Parade of Heroes. So they're doing it for a lot of graduation car parades, as well as a lot of, obviously, for Memorial Day. So a lot of that content will be up there, maybe some photos and stuff like that. So go check it out. See some cool geek vehicles getting in there. I'll be honest with you. I was sitting here working this week because school's done here. My daughter's school was last day this week. And the one elementary is like right next to like my subdivision here. And I'm sitting here working with the windows open because it's been a gorgeous week again. And I hear all this honking and I'm like super annoyed by it. And I'm like, why is there so much honking out there? And I go look out and it's all the parents driving past the elementary school. And I'm like, okay, well now I'm just sad. I'm not annoyed. I'm sad that this is how they're celebrating. Cause my poor daughter had to do her end of the school year party on Zoom. Like, that was it. Like, it's crazy.
Aww.
It was sad.
She's in the Jetsons.
She was crying though afterwards because she realized she came downstairs from her meeting, and I was like, "Great, what did one of your friends say? You know, they're 9 and 10 years old. Somebody said something, or she didn't get a chance to talk." And she's like, "No, I'm really miss all my friends, and this is it. I'm gonna miss them." And I was like, "Oh wow, like sorry, like, this is crazy." But it is 229, and we're still in the quarantine editions, obviously, based on what we're saying right now. I know Tyler is heading back out into the work world, but we're still kind of spending a lot of time at home right now, guys, aren't we? Adam, Tyler, myself, Iggy.
I was just telling before we started, I spent more time outside my apartment yesterday than I have probably combined in the last 60 to 70 days. Because like you said, I am starting to slowly transition back into not working. I'll still be working from home a lot, but I'm going to start being half and half, like half at work and half at home. So
right,
I spent 8-9 hours out of the house yesterday, and that was. Did
you start to hyperventilate at a certain point? You're like,
no, it was just
my legs are tired.
It was just my legs definitely did get tired. That was the longest I'd spent on my feet for any long period of time. I'll go out and go for a run or a walk or something for an hour or something, but being on my feet for a solid like 8 hours out of the house for 8 hours, that was a long time for me. It was weird.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I don't know what to do. Like, luckily my non-project nerd job is we could definitely do it from home. And they did send us a survey like, are you guys interested in coming back in the office soon? I'm like, no, we can do it here. Why would you put us back in there with other people? So I'll probably be at home for a long while still.
Yeah, that's the same thing with us. So we had London had I think the 20th, 18th, something like that. We actually had 24 hours with no new cases reported in London, so that's pretty good. It's a city of 14 million, so it's not a small number of people to go without getting any new cases. So that was pretty awesome. My boss jokingly messaged our group right after that. We have a Slack group, and he messaged us right after somebody shared that headline. He goes, "Okay, so you guys at work tomorrow?" And it's like, no. And then, we've talked about it, and he's like, we're not in, as a company, we're not in any rush to get back. Don't worry about that. We're going to go back well after everybody else, and kind of once they've got all the policies and new stuff in place. So,
right. Well, I think,
so
without getting
we're not even
political or
worried at all.
social, without getting political or social about it, I think that's the move, at least for the businesses that can work from home. So it helps with the transition of everything else for sure. But beyond that, the geek and pop culture world it's kind of busy the whole time, especially on the streaming side. But this past week, we had a lot of headlines that we're going to get into over the next hour for sure. And then as we have with the past few months, we're going to share what we're doing to pass the time and what cool stuff we found, and obviously what's going on at Project Nerd. But I don't know, guys. It's been kind of crazy. One of the big things, we didn't drop the headline on the site, but that I was excited about, as we announced a month ago, or we shared, but they announced it. Netflix bought the rights to Paramount's Lovebirds. So that was pretty great. Did you? Oh, I don't know, Adam. Maybe not over there.
No, I don't know about this.
Okay, so we shared it. So obviously, it was Lovebirds was supposed to come out in April. I think April 20. It's towards the end of April. Supposed to come out. Same team that took care of The Big Sick, right? Same director and everything.
Oh yeah. Okay,
yeah.
I forgot the name of it. Yeah. Okay.
Camille Nanjiani, starring and producing.
It's a Ray.
And then you had David Michael Showalter directing. I said David because
The Lovebirds.
Michael Dave. Right. So it did drop on Netflix this past weekend finally, and was
I haven't watched it yet, but I've already gotten 3 texts from people like, "Hey, have you watched The Lovebirds yet?"
It's pretty fun. As soon as I saw it, because the other thing is Netflix, when they got it, I was kind of hoping they were just going to drop it the same weekend in April, because they bought it a few weeks ahead of time, and I'm like, perfect time and everything like that. They didn't, and it kind of just sat there, and then it was all of a sudden Wednesday or Thursday, they're like, "Hey, Lovebirds is coming this weekend, guys, enjoy it." And it's like, okay, thanks. And so it dropped Friday, at least here in the States, and we watched it Friday. As soon as we saw that it dropped, it was pretty fun. I mean, some of the stereotypes of the, rom-com pieces of it and how the relationship was working, but it was fun, and there were definitely some funny parts for it.
The trailers have looked good, and they've advertised it really well. I'm surprised that it didn't. I don't know how it all worked out production-wise and who owned it and whose money was where, but the fact that Amazon did so well with The Big Sick and then this ended up at Netflix was kind of surprising, I think, to a lot of people.
So Nanjiani, obviously, he had executive producer credit, I think, all that stuff. And I was saying, as we were watching it, I'm like, when your screenplay gets nominated for an Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay, you now have power. Now the studios will do it. So I was actually thinking the same thing, that I was surprised Amazon didn't do it. But there was 5 or 6 production companies flashed ahead of the movie starting. So there was a number of them for sure, not even counting the Netflix logo. So it was there was definitely a lot of brands involved, but it was good. The acting was really strong. There was definitely some funny moments. I would say that it's not as laugh out loud funny as the trailer made me think it would be, but it still had the heartwarming moments with the relationship, the funny. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was everything that I wanted it to be, I guess would be the way to put it. So definitely a recommendation on this one, but
I'll have to take that. So I was checking while you were chatting, and it dropped here as well. I haven't been watching Netflix this weekend, which you can probably tell since I had no idea.
Right.
When Netflix puts something new on, you get it as soon as you turn it on, and then when you go a few rows down, it's there again to holler at you to let you know that it's brand new.
Right.
Oh yeah, I'll have to look at that.
Yeah, it was good. So
and also, if you've been on the internet at all, you would think that the only thing on Netflix right now is Avatar: The Last Airbender, which, don't get me wrong, I've already watched half of the first chapter since it got put back on there. But that is probably one of the most beloved cartoons of the last decade, and the fact that it's available now on Netflix, it's been #1 on Netflix every day now since it dropped, and
We did
There's
a whole
been
week's
so
of
many
coverage for it leading up to it.
Oh, I
too.
know. I mean, saying every article on every website is like, oh, by the way, I don't know if you've ever seen Avatar: The Last Airbender, but it's real good, apparently.
I've loved seeing people comment who are like revisiting it, either revisiting it for the first time in a while and being like, man, this is like got a lot more, it's a lot deeper than I remember it being, or stuff like that. Or people who are watching it the first time and they're like, wait, this was a kid's cartoon? Because I feel like it's really, speaking to me, like it's really good. So yeah, obviously I highly recommend that one there. What else? You said, Adam, you haven't been watching Netflix this weekend. So what have we been partaking in this week? Either streaming, playing, like some reading, probably.
No, just straight playing. So I think it was a couple weeks ago I started God of War again. So the one from 2018, which is an absolutely phenomenal game. Because one of my buddies was playing it through for the first time. He had never played the most recent God of War, and so he was playing through, and he was talking about parts I'm not gonna do any spoilers because there's some really interesting parts.
It's a really good story to that game.
The story in that game is absolutely phenomenal, and so I don't want, like, I love it so much I don't want to spoil it even 2 years after the damn thing came out. And so I've been playing that, and how good the story is in that game and how good it looks in HDR is a whole other thing. It looks beautiful, but the story is so good that my wife, you guys know Laura, she would rather play a video game, but we were like, oh, what should we do? Like, oh, we could watch a movie, we could watch some TV. And she's like, I mean, you could play God of War. I'll watch that. Like, I want to, she forgot how it ended. She's like, I'm really curious as to what happens in the rest of this game. And so, yeah, like this morning we got up. She's like, okay, so you wanna play some God of War? I was like, sure. Okay, why don't you go kill all the Valkyries? And I'm like, oh yeah, sure, just go kill all the Valkyries, no problem. And then I did, and she's
did you kill all the Valkyries? Yeah, I mean,
except Sigurd, yeah, because good God, that fight is the hardest fight I've ever done in a video game.
There's only one other game that I can actually remember existing that Laura was okay watching you play rather than just playing it, and that was the first of the Batman games.
Oh, yeah.
Arkham Asylum.
That was good.
That one's not only fun to watch, it's more fun to play if someone's watching it, because you need someone to turn to and to be like, did you just see what I just did?
Yeah.
Did you see that bit where I dropped down and then kicked that one guy and then caught that one guy's leg and swung him around into that other guy and then did the thing with the thing in the cape? It's not, the game's literally only half as fun if someone's not sitting next to you while you play.
I feel like we played that one in larger groups even at times, the Batman one.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we fire those up during our movie nights and eat dinner and play Batman.
Right.
Yeah, so been doing that. Just finished that today, actually. To what she freaked out about. And then if you played that game and you've beaten it and you haven't gone back to your house and gone to sleep, you need to do that. So just throw that out there for everybody.
Oh, in the game, go back to
yes.
I'm
if
like,
you've beaten God of War.
I'm like, did you have nightmares or something, Adam? I didn't know what was going on. Okay.
You kind of have nightmares, yes.
So the character you take back to the house.
Yeah, you take your character back to their house. And
no, I don't think.
You make Kratos go to sleep. You need to. If you've beaten it. Definitely fire it up. Load into that old game save. You don't need to know what's going on. Just load in, go back to your house.
I feel like the game save's still on there. It's been a while now because that game's been out. Because I got it the summer it came out. I don't know.
So that's 2 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll have to check. Yeah. I don't think I've deleted anything. The problem is Orion plays on the PlayStation, my son, and has probably deleted some stuff. So I don't know if he's deleted the old game saves, but I'll have to see if it's still on there.
I mean, that game's good enough. That game's good enough to play through again. So we did that.
Yeah. Cause I have all the time in the world to do that right now.
You do. And another
I'm busy watching stuff.
Don't do that. Another thing you have to do leading into next month is, replay The Last of Us.
Last of Us, yes.
Last of Us 2 comes out next month, and started that today, to which Laura's like, you need to go hurry up and finish podcasting so that you can come back down here and play more of Last of Us, because I want to see that game as well. Also looks very good in HDR if you get the remastered version on the PS4.
There are some amazing games coming out. Ghost of Tsushima, finally, we shared that on Project Nerd, the like 20-minute of open world gameplay that the studio did, and oh my goodness, is that thing gorgeous. That's also July. You got Last of Us 2. But I can tell you what, game-wise, what I'm living for right now, not even new, just a remaster. Tony Hawk 1 and 2. I am so stoked for that, dude.
God, that's
I'm
gonna
gonna
be so good.
September is all I'm gonna be doing is blaring Goldfinger and playing some Tony Hawk. That's gonna be one hell of a month. So I wonder, Goldfinger's really putting themselves back out there right now too. They're doing great with those quarantine videos, like releasing them weekly. Which I need to check. They probably have a new one as if we're recording today.
I wonder if they're trying to play themselves like into doing more in the game. Like you guys are remastering and just like record some stuff with us. With like I'll show up and like talk to your character or whatever. Like no problem. Let's do this.
Oh, I'm so excited for that. But a lot of games coming out too. And crazy, all for PS4 and Xbox One right ahead of the new systems supposedly dropping. We're still getting some huge, huge titles for those current generation systems.
We did this last time too. You got a bunch of games for the PS3 and 360 right before that were instantly ported into the newer systems. So, but I think both of these have backwards compatibility, so it's not like it really matters. So it'll be all good.
Yeah, it's crazy. Tyler, what have we been watching, reading, playing?
I just finished a couple books. What did I finish? I finished the new Murderbot book. So the Murderbot stories were these novellas that are really fun. They're a lot of fun, honestly. And I finally, after the success of those, they came out with a novel. Martha Wells is the author of them. So there's a novel now that just came out, and it's really, really good. I just finished that. And then what else have I been reading? I've been trying to read more. I didn't do a good job. What's the word I'm looking for? Reading it early on in the quarantine. I don't know if it was just a matter of.
We talked about it. It was hard. We talked about with watching stuff and all that too. Like it just felt exhausting investing in something even like new. Cause I've done, and you mentioned it too, I've rewatched a lot of stuff.
Yeah, watched a lot of old stuff. So in the last 2 weeks, I've read like 3 books because I was like, no, I need to get back into it. And some books came out that I was really looking forward to. So the new Murderbot book from Martha Wells. I read Robert Jackson Bennett's sequel to Foundry Side, Shorefall, which was really interesting. It's definitely the middle book in a trilogy, though. The ending is very like sets you up for the next one. Like everything goes to shit at the end of it. It's the dark book. It's the Empire Strikes Back.
An ending that's not an ending where you're like this.
I mean, honestly, without spoiling it, like 2 of the main protagonists end up in the end of the book, basically sailing away from a city just fucking destroyed, like to prepare for their eventual final show off with the big. There's now like 2 antagonists. It's a whole thing. Like there's a lot going on in that book, and it was a really good book. But it definitely suffers from the middle book in the trilogy syndrome. Other than that, like I said, I did start rewatching Avatar: The Last Airbender because why not? Like I haven't actually watched it every now and then, like someone will share a clip, or you'll watch a clip on YouTube, or you'll remember a scene, or I'd go back and watch certain things when Legend of Korra was on, but I haven't watched some of those, especially some of those first season episodes in
a while.
Years. So I sat down and started watching those, and it's still a fantastic show. It is, and I knew it then. It doesn't bother me as much now as it did the first time I watched it, but it is a kid show. Like there's a lot of times where the humor is very kiddie, it's very geared to, but it's such a good show. And a lot of good messages in it. So
there you go. I
forgot how much of a dickhole Sokka was when the show first starts off. Like in the very first episode, when his sister just goes on a tear at him for being just a sexist piece of shit, and it's pretty awesome. Which was like super for 15 years ago was pretty. It was very woke by 2005 standards.
Well, Korra is the Legend of Korra as well with some of the.
Well, Korra is on a whole nother level. Korra's amazing. I love Legend of Korra, but Avatar: The Last Airbender snuck some stuff in for 2005 that was not in the mainstream at that point.
So I've still been rewatching stuff. And we're back halfway through Good Omens on Amazon Prime. The cool thing about it is that I'm showing it to some, like I've been through this a lot, have had a lot to show somebody. Like she hasn't seen a lot of this stuff. So Good Omens, we just rewatching BoJack, especially those last couple episodes that are just, man, those are hard. But we did work our way through Netflix's Hollywood, and I'll be honest with you, there are things about it that I really, really liked and really praised the series. There's a few things that are like, but the first couple episodes come in as something that I was like, okay, I'm not expecting this. This is a little more like I'm not there. And then it takes a curve to like, we're going to change Hollywood. We're going to take on the race and, you know, homophobia and all this stuff, especially back in the 40s. And it's like, damn, like it had some powerful messages and things in it. And I was pretty impressed with the series altogether. I think 6 episodes, not too long, but that one is always a good one. And then like
even with Jim Parsons,
which you know how I feel about Big Bang Theory. So I already have
I know, right?
Here's the thing. Jim Parsons is a really, really good actor.
He is a
really good dude who was on a sitcom for a long time. And I'm sorry, but you don't shit on Jim Parsons because he was on a sitcom.
I have a bad taste in my mouth when he's introduced to something.
He's so good in things.
He is
He's just good.
He's a great man version of the Muppet in Muppets movie, but he is really good in this series. I feel like they could have stopped with his character towards the end. They do some things with his character that carries on beyond, I think, some of the big resolutions. And I'd have been happier if they would have just left it. But I also see why they did. But his character is I think they referred to him a few times in there as a snake, is a shitty snake. Like he is a terrible person who finds some redemption. And he does a really good job.
Did you say snake?
Yes.
Okay. Because what I heard was they referred to him as a steak.
I 100%
he does some
also
really
heard
shitty things. And I was like,
yeah, I was like,
that's not the
I
term
thought it was
going to
be like a sexual thing, like he's a dish of some kind.
He's like, that Jim Parsons is a
prime beefcake steak. Sure. I don't know. I was very confused.
No, he plays a really sleazy character through it, but he does it really well, and his character has a huge purpose in it throughout. But each of the characters have a really important part, and the acting's really good. And the thing I was talking about as we're watching it is some of the actors in it have to be very bad actors. So they have to play their character they have to act good to play their character. And then as they're being the actor version of their character, have to do it then very poorly. And I was like, thinking about, I'm like, man, that is really hard to do. Like, so that is some really solid acting that they did to be able to turn that on and off like that. Because here in this series of scenes, you have to do everything that you spent years learning not to do, right? Like, so it was pretty impressive.
It's so simple.
It's like your boy in Hail Caesar.
That's what I was just saying. That it were so simple.
Yeah.
That it were so simple.
That's so great. Yeah, but she did a great job too at that. But that's a really good one. I definitely recommend it. If you are, if you're the type of person who is storming the capital of Michigan, this is probably not a show for you, though. So otherwise, definitely check it out. But that's a quick recap on, I think, what we're watching, playing, reading, and stuff like that. As I mentioned, as we get halfway through, huge news all throughout the week. Let's start with probably the biggest one. Tyler, you sent it to us on Thursday night. To this point for Christopher Nolan's Tenet, which is now in a very interesting position. We had the IMAX scene ahead of Rise of Skywalker, which was just one amazing scene that just didn't give us anything about the rest of the movie, though. Just a good action scene. And then we had a teaser trailer that showed us some things, but they dropped the trailer Thursday night via Fortnite, by the way. So I think I opened up the article for the trailer that if you would have told me last year that the big trailer just a couple months ahead of the first movie in theaters, months after theaters had been closed, was dropped on a Thursday night via Fortnite, I would have said you're crazy. But it's exactly what happened, as confusing as that sounds. And that trailer, guys.
Well, now I'm super curious because Nolan is very good at what he does, and he has very much, there's always a shtick, there's always a thing, there's always a layer, there's always another layer under that. So the first one, it's like, okay, there's this secret thing, and there's this word, and there's this whole underground, whatever. And then this one, they're like, oh, by the way, the whole thing is some weird version of like time manipulation, time travel, and you're pulling things backwards and stuff. But it's Nolan, so that the thing is that's 100% not what the movie's about. Like that's just like a thing that happens.
Not the point.
So now they're like, well, that time travel shit looks cool, but we now know that that's 100% not what the main theme of the movie is. So let's just get past that now and move on to like figuring out what the real thing is. But like that was a good trailer. Obviously, Michael Caine is there, being wise about things and telling people maybe you shouldn't do these things. They're going to do them anyway. It's fantastic. I'm interested to see Robert Pattinson seems to be taking over the Tom Hardy kind of role, the the gregarious, personality guy. I enjoy that.
Right.
But I mean, here's the thing. It doesn't matter how good or bad the trailer is. The trailer's awesome. Time travel looks fun. Catching bullets that have already been shot and flipping cars over that they're driving back. I mean, all that stuff is dope as hell. It's a Nolan movie. I'm going to go see it. I'm going to see it multiple times. I'm probably going to need to see it multiple times to fully appreciate what's going on. And I'm real pumped about it.
I'm pumped, but here's the thing.
And then there's a whole undercurrent too. Then there's this whole other piece of it because Nolan has always been at the forefront of, I shoot on film and I do things this way, and he is a classic old school director when it comes to that sorts of stuff. And it doesn't have a release date. It literally just has the words very, I don't know what the word for it is not provocatively, but very clearly this states out, will be in theaters or, coming to a theater. So I'm just curious when it'll actually get released. Like, how long are they going to be willing to wait, and how many theaters will still be around when they're finally like, nope.
So they have the date for it, but exactly, Warner Brothers has said only if 80% of theaters are open is the only way they stay committed to that mid-July date. So it's definitely very up in the air right now if that will end up still being the first big movie back, right?
Would you go see it in July if it did hit the theaters? I know we're all excited about it. That trailer looks so good. Washington looks amazing and magnetic on the screen. So like I'm interested in that. But do you go in July?
Here's the thing. I'm a sucker for Nolan. I would literally grab my mask. I would buy a ticket for like 11 a.m. on a Tuesday. I would show up and see how many people are in the theater and make my call then. I would 100% eat the cost of the ticket. If I walk in, there's like 50 people there. I'm like, nope, I'll try again later. But if I walk in, there's like 3 people in the theater. Fuck it, I'm sitting down. Let's do this. I'll buy 3 or 4 tickets to do that until I find a time that I'm comfortable sitting down to watch it.
That's not a bad idea, bud.
I wonder too if you were to go back out and be like, I'm uncomfortable with the amount of people here, they might even refund your ticket, dude. I don't know.
No, they can. I want movie theaters to stay open. They can keep my $11. I don't care. I just want to see the fucking movie.
That's fair. They are obviously, Warner Brothers is going to be one of the leaders here, as especially in certain Asian countries, as movie theaters are starting to open up back now. And we did cover this over at projectnerd.com as well. So you'll be getting the Dark Knight trilogy back in theaters. Warner Brothers is also a rumor of select Harry Potter movies making their way back to theaters. The concept is, especially, like I said, countries that are already opening up right now, they have to wait for Hollywood to play their hand, which as of right now, as we just said, it's not even 100% firm mid-July. That's just what we're expecting. So they've got to fill those screens in the meantime. And I think it's a bold strategy by Warner Brothers because, one, let's get as much Nolan as we can out there again ahead of it, right? Like, let's do that because that might negate that question you just asked a little bit, Adam, because the more we see Nolan's name, the more we're seeing his movies, the more we might be like, all right, yeah, I'm ready for July, even if we're hesitant now. I think the ultimate question is going to be, I've quit trying to play it even a week ahead at this point because I have no clue what's going to happen. Not even if we're going to be allowed to go in theaters by July, right? Anything could change again. So I don't know. I would like to say that that's going to be the first movie that I take my son back to theaters back. We get our Alamo Draft House pass, go. But as of right now, I don't know. I feel like it's something that if for some reason there are restrictions, that hopefully by the holiday season, even though it's going to be super crowded, so maybe a January or something when it's a little less crowded, it gets a re-release in theaters to get those people, give us the chance, because I feel like Nolan movies are something you need to see in IMAX the first time. Interstellar, Inception, like they're great at home, but
yeah,
on that IMAX screen is where you need to see it.
Well, I wonder, I mean, you bring up a good point, and Draft House is a phenomenal theater, and if anybody were doing it right, I could see them doing it, especially in the theaters where you have to reserve all of your seats anyway, right? Like, you don't just buy a ticket, you buy a seat in the theater, specific seat in the theater. So if more theaters have gone to that online ticketing system, you think we could, do full empty rows and, several seats in between. Like, you feel like there's a way they could figure it out to do it safely. And certainly some of the smaller, I don't want to call them boutique theaters, but theaters that make their money on other things.
Specialty theaters.
Yeah, specialty theaters. Yeah. Things that were like Alamo, where they make their money on drinks and food as much as on the movie, probably more than on the movie. You figure they could figure something like that out.
I'd agree. And I think the seat arrangement's going to be big because, again, we're up in the air on a lot of things, but a lot of it's talking 50%, maybe even 25% capacity in these theaters. So I mean, it's a good point Tyler brings up. Is it by then some states may just be like, here it is, and you could walk in and see too many people. And I know I would be the type of person that might be like, this, I don't think I'm ready for that yet. But if they are, capping it at 25%, and you know that your seat's surrounded by empty seats and there's only a handful. But I like your call, Tyler. Like, yeah, I'm gonna go at an odd time, maybe work from home on a certain day and just disappear for a 2-hour meeting or something, put it on the calendar.
I'm 100% just, I mean, probably not Tuesday. Tuesday's typically the AMC matinee day, so it's cheap. So it'd probably have to be like a Wednesday, but yeah, show up at a Wednesday for like the 11:30 and I guess, I mean, I say show up and look around. It's not like I don't remember the last time I went to a theater where I didn't already know where I was going to sit. So I guess maybe 30 minutes before showtime, go online to the website and see how many available seats there are for that show and be like, yep, this is the one I'm going to go to, and then buy a ticket and show up. So I don't know. Draft House, I feel like would really do it well. The seating is one thing. I just don't know how Draft House can to do everything else they do and keep it safe with
it might be
wait staff moving around and the whole, that whole thing sounds a little bit tricky.
It might be temporarily of like ordering before you go in or something. I think as Adam was saying, like that's those theaters like that have smaller seating, less seats in them and all that. That's their bread and butter is the bar, the food sales, the stuff like that.
The bread and butter is the bread and butter, bud.
Exactly. So other big news I know for us this week that I was super excited for, Disney Plus finally announces it. I don't know how this was not a series at launch. We're finally getting a Muppet series on Disney Plus. It took them until after Apple announced that they picked up the rights to Fraggle Rock and we're bringing that back, that HBO Max will have a late night variety or a late night show in the style of, your Jimmy Fallon shows and stuff like that, but with Elmo hosting the Not Too Late show with Elmo. And then finally we get the Muppets, or Muppets Now is what they're calling it. And the good thing about it is the hesitation might have came from that 2015 ABC series that they tried to play like The Office meets like, I don't know what, a Parks and Rec thing or there or something. But they definitely are going back to an unscripted series with guests and everything like that. So I'm pretty stoked, man. More Muppets and more old school style Muppets.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't know why I guess, they had so much other stuff going on, and also it's Disney. And so like, screw you, you're going to get it anyway. We don't need to put out that many new things. Also, we've got the Mandalorian, like
right.
Everybody's going to get it already.
So I made the comment of that on the news release that we put out that was like, we want it all at the beginning, but Disney's actually done a really incredible job of staggering stuff for Disney Plus, even with the MCU announced out. We want more now. I get it.
No. I would say they're getting better now. I would not say they did a great job out the gate, because how many people do you know who had Disney Plus who don't have it anymore?
Because right after Mandalorian, yeah, I was. That's fair.
There was nothing after Mandalorian.
They did a pretty good job for us over here.
That's fair, but they could have. But if you had bought Disney Plus when we did and had finished the Mandalorian back in November, would you still have Disney Plus today?
I do, but I paid for 3 years up front. So like I
got a year free from Verizon, right. So I didn't have to do anything.
Yeah.
But like, I know a lot of people who paid for it for the 3 months that the Mandalorian was on and then waited a minute and they're like, all right, I'm done now. There's nothing. Because the thing is like right after the Mandalorian was done, it's like, cool, I'm going to go watch some old Disney movies that I love, which I did. I'm going to watch some old DuckTales episodes. Okay. And then I was just like, the nostalgia factor wore off pretty quickly. I can't honestly tell you the last time I opened the Disney Plus app. I'm not paying for it, so I'm not worried about it, but I have it.
Right. Well, for me, obviously, kids in the house.
You have
so
kids. That's different. That's a whole different. The
But
value prop for you is way different.
Yeah. So my personal viewing is pretty much the same experience. It would have definitely been a smarter strategy to start Clone Wars like the last season, maybe right after Mandalorian or something, to lose that gap. So I valued right there. But I have my debit card is the Disney card. So like I got a special promotion for 3 years for like the price of like a year, basically, just like slightly over a year. So I was like, I have to take this. And then exactly, I have Verizon and they allowed you to stack that. So I have 4 years of Disney Plus paid for. Yeah. I'm like, it's done and paid for. So I can sit on it for a few months and not have to worry about that because it was insane how much of it I got for free.
Holy hell, they could have determined that it's a money loser in 4 years, and you could it could be not a service, and you're still not paying for it.
Exactly. I know. It's I have a feeling it will be, but exactly, definitely. Other big news in way of this one on network television. So after hugely successful Batwoman first season, as the CW Arrowverse does, those shows rank very highly, do really well. Those actors are very much loved. We see tons of them on the convention circuit. Ruby Rose came in as Batwoman, did the cameo in the whole crossover event the winter before. Super successful. With Arrow on its way out, they're like, we need another show to fill that night. So they greenlit Batwoman right out the gate with no pilot. Her is to go. Went great. Show had great ratings, was super successful. A lot of tension and some drama, though, behind the scenes in that. And they cut the season short, obviously, because of the shutdown of filming. And now the announcement this past week is Ruby Rose. And they are mutually deciding to part ways. So they are now, with a really successful show that they don't want to cancel, tasked with finding another Cassandra Cain for Batwoman season 2 and going on. Interesting news, guys. I don't know.
I've heard so many weird things about that, though. Like this is up there with damn near up there with Who Shot Kennedy. Like, I've heard, well, she hurt her back in the first season, and so like she was worried about having to do the stunts and didn't want to do them, and so they had somebody else do it. Like crazy things, and so that it totally was mutual. Like everybody was okay with it, and then you hear the other article, you read another article, and it does the totally mutual wink wink, like she got fired or she told the producers to do something very intricate with their head and their butt, like whatever that might entail. Like, so like, who knows, right? I don't know.
The order in which the different stories came out and the content of the articles makes me think that she, for the most part, quit. Like I definitely don't get the sense that they fired her. Like it definitely is a quit. And there were a lot of stories throughout the production of issues with injuries on set. I know she did get hurt. I don't know how serious it was, but other people
like a hospital stay level.
Like a lot of people on that show got hurt. But I also think that there may have been a misplay because they got a bunch of press for hiring her. Like when she got hired, it was a big deal. But at the same time, like Ruby Rose is almost too big to be the star of a CW show. Like CW shows are insanely popular, but they're insanely popular because they're CW shows, not because of the people who are on them. Like no one knew who Stephen Amell was before Arrow. No one knew who Jensen Ackles was.
Exactly.
They all became characters because of their CW shows, which means that they were like the only person who, like, there's a few actors who play smaller roles who are big. Like, Tom Cavanaugh used to have his own, primetime television show on NBC. Like that's different, but it's a different period of his career. And he never, his career never really took off after Ed and stuff like that. But I guess the thing is they're getting people who they can pay probably a lower rate on early on. Obviously Stephen Amell's making his money, the Jensens of the world, they're making their money at the tail end, but early on, and they're thankful for a job and are cool to put in because sitcom work, especially stuff at the production level of the CW, like you're putting in some serious hours. This isn't even just like sitcom work because all the stunt work and the special effects and the stuff, like you're putting in 10, 15-hour days for 9 months out of the year. I don't know that there are people who are more than willing to do that for the job. It's a steady job. I'm getting paid really well to do this every week. I think Ruby Rose is at a place in her career she doesn't really need that. Like, I'm just speculating based on stuff I've read, but I think she did it and was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to work 10 hours a day, 9 months out of the year for this.
It very much felt that way.
Nor does she have to. There's plenty of people who are like, I'm going to do this as long as I need to make money. So, yeah,
it's definitely, those shows are aired like 220 to 240 hours worth of programming.
And people like people like Stephen Amell have come out and said that like it's the worst and they hated it. Like, and Stephen Amell's even came out and said that Arrow would probably have gone 2 or 3 fewer seasons if he hadn't gotten like just that huge pay bump he got at the tail end of his contract. Like, those shows destroy those people because they run on such a insanely like escalated. I mean, it's such an insanely crammed schedule. So I don't know. I mean, it's a big deal, but I don't think it's as big a deal. I don't know. CW shows have a tendency to have a very intense and vocal following, so any and all things that happen on them get scrutinized to a level of which that is unseen on most normal television shows, I would think.
Okay. So another question: do they tongue-in-cheek play that it's a different actress in the character, or do they just like new character altogether, right? Like someone, literally passing the mantle.
I mean,
on.
it's the
like,
it's the
already,
CW show. Like, I would not be surprised if they pull some like face-off bullshit or something like that. Like, take an actress who's already on the show and pull some storyline where they cut one's face off and stick it on another one, and there's some fucking mind meld. Gorilla Grodd puts a helmet on and swaps the brains out of two characters, and now Cassie Cain's brain is inside this other character who was already on the show that we're going to keep paying that people liked and stuff like that. Like, the CW is, I mean, Batwoman was probably the least over the top of all the shows. Like, on the scale of Legends of Tomorrow to Arrow, it was definitely more on the Arrow side than the Legends of Tomorrow side, but with Flash somewhere, in the middle. But I still would not. I mean, it's the CW. They'll do something. I would not be surprised if they did something. They're definitely not going to ignore it, and I think that would not be surprised if they do something super over the top and soap opera-y with it. An evil fraternal twin that kind of looks like her. I don't even know. I would be curious to see what happens.
So, obviously, a lot of headlines. There's a lot of things I wanted to get to, but I have a feeling this last one I'm going to bring up is going to take the rest of our time. So do check out projectnerd.com, project-nerd.com for the other headlines.
Can we just not do it?
No, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it.
We're
going to talk about it, Tyler.
Can I need someone to sit down.
You have strong opinions.
Collate. I need someone to sit down and go over the last 220 whatever episodes of the Nerdcast and give me a percentage of how many of those minutes has been spent talking about movies that none of us particularly like that much.
15.
I almost
15,
at this point
top of my head.
I at this point almost feel bad about how much shit we have talked on the DC universe.
So it's happening, guys. It is happening. HBO
but their
Max,
names are Martha.
They're
both named Martha.
Max announced Justice League Snyder Cut is happening, and it may not even be a movie, Tyler. It might end up being a series. They might do it as a mini series. So Zack Snyder's Justice League is coming to HBO Max in 2021. Get this, guys. They're up to at this point, it's not even ready yet, but at this point, $20 to $30 million already invested by Warner Brothers to recut this for Zack Snyder's version of the movie. And we've heard about it since the original one came out and bombed. And for those that have missed the last 228 episodes of the Nerdcast, the big thing here is that Justice League comes out after Joss Whedon takes over for Zack Snyder. Two very different tones of the movie. You could literally go from one scene that was very Zack Snyder-ish to the very next scene in the next room to where you're like, that was completely, like, Batman just completely changed his tone on things. He is no longer a murderous Batman. He is a caring Batman. Like, it's insane. It was not a great movie, as Tyler has pointed out, that we talk a lot about how we didn't feel about it. But guys,
none of them were.
Zack Snyder
got to make... I get that he let him make one, and I even understand that they let him make two. I don't know how they let him make three. They just weren't any good.
No.
Yeah, I want to know what people saw in Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman that makes them think Zack Snyder's Justice League is going to be better. Like, it's not.
I don't know.
At this point, I'm just convinced that people are being contrarian. Like, they're not Marvel movies, so like, it's team sports. Like, I planted my flag on this team, and now I'm going to go down with the ship. I honestly don't know. I don't know how anyone can sit and watch any of those three movies as a film and be like, no, that's a good movie. And not only that, like, here's the thing. Like, Man of Steel is, as a movie, fine. It's just, as a fan of I don't know how anyone can be a real fan of Superman and be like, yeah, that's Superman. Like, Zack Snyder made it very clear. He did not give a shit about anything in his version of deconstructing these heroes, and like, really was just like, I'm going to make them into full on. In
Well,
the name of dark and gritty, they're just gonna fucking murder people.
Right.
Now.
We've talked about it, and for me, the biggest thing with Man of Steel, which then imparts all of the other problems throughout the franchise, is you take Jonathan Kent, a bastion of goodness and all things moral and good, and the true embodiment of American ideals, right? And we should throw that guy out the window. This is a dude who only cares about himself and his family, which, like, sure, Jonathan Kent cared about his family, but if doing the right thing caused problems for you, Jonathan Kent would do the right thing always, every time, no questions asked. And he would taught his son, Clark Kent, to do the right thing always, no matter what, no questions asked. Yeah, and
then somehow we went from that to, and that's not something that was like one specific iteration of Jonathan Kent. That is who Jonathan Kent has and always will be forever. Jonathan Kent is always good. He is the Uncle Ben of the DC universe. He is the reason Spider-Man is who he is because of Uncle Ben. Superman is who he is because of his parents. And then all of a sudden he's, fuck you, you don't know them anything. Fuck them. All right, well, I'm out.
It's absolutely wild to me. Right. And I think that ripples through, that change, that fundamental change in who Superman is raised by ripples through the rest of those movies and gives us things like, wait, your mom's name is Martha too? Like, as a resolution to fighting that has destroyed 2 cities, not just one. I think they get 2 cities in that movie. Like, it's absolutely wild to me that, like, that's the
we also didn't know Metropolis and Gotham are just across the bay from each other, right?
Right. Yeah.
You can see Gotham from Metropolis. Easy.
Right, because Metropolis is only a couple hours away from Smallville, which is in the dead center of the country, which we already alluded to in the first movie that he directed too. It's not like there's 2 different people directing these movies and that they're
So that's going to be my question. And Tyler, you brought up that fans, because fans are definitely the one that petitioned for this. And by fans, I even mean like people like Kevin Smith. Actors came out because they looked bad in the movie. So I get why they defended, like, oh, there's a whole nother cut that would have been more consistent. But a lot of fans spoke up, but it's Warner Brothers that is putting their flag down with Zack Snyder too and saying they're sticking with it.
Out of nowhere.
Yeah,
because I feel like
it was getting better. It was getting
forever.
better. And it felt like it was all, we were giving Zack Snyder the complete Kevin Feige control, right? And it was a disaster. And as we branched out under very unfortunate circumstances, but we branched out, we let people take on different characters. Look what happened with Patty Jenkins' Wonder Woman, even with a little bit of fingerprints of Snyder still left on it, because that started pre-production, when he was still involved. It still did great. And as much as okay as Aquaman and Shazam are, they have their own personalities. All the Snyder movies it's just one consistent personality, it feels like. And I am worried that all that progress and direction, I felt eventually we were going to get a really good DC movie outside of Patty Jenkins. Like, it was heading that way. And now I'm worried that we're going to put Zack Snyder back in control of everything.
Opening scene. It's dark, rainy. Light is reflecting off a puddle in the ground. You see someone walking across it. You can't quite make out who they are because the light's behind them. But you can tell they're up to no good. Da, da, da.
And it's much as we hate on Zack Snyder with it, that was perfect for Watchmen adaptation or 300. Like, it did great. Those movies are great. And so exactly as you mentioned, Tyler, without hesitation, when they said they're handing the reins to the DC stuff with Zack Snyder when this all started, and it's probably on those early Nerdcasts like you talked about, I was in. I think most of us were like, let's see what can happen here. But
Zack Snyder's one of those people. He has done some really amazing work, and he has some interesting ideas and vision. I still contend that he has made 3 good movies and a lot of bad movies. I will contend he's made 1 great movie and 2 okay movies, and then a bunch of crap.
Okay, so you have to say,
hear him. Yeah, hear him.
What's the great one?
His remake of Dawn of the Dead is fucking amazing.
Okay, and your 2 okay ones are going to be
the 2 okay ones are going to be Watchmen and
300.
This is 300, which 300 isn't great. It was groundbreaking. Like, it did cool shit. Like, it took a took a source material.
It took like the pages out of the comic.
It did cool stuff. It was awesome. Like it looked dope as hell.
But that's the problem, is that game-changing thing he did by using the green screen that way, setting the tone and the shading, made it look like the comic pages came straight out of the, like it was being moved to the screen.
And he makes
what he's
that
done,
cool.
but that's what he's done every time.
Sucker Punch was bad.
Oh,
Man of Steel was bad.
It was beautiful. Sucker Punch, exactly. It looked cool.
Sucker Punch looked cool as hell. It had some super cool action sequences in it. It's not good.
No, it's a terrible.
And Man of Steel is bad, and Batman versus Superman is really bad, and Justice League is not as bad as Batman versus Superman. Like that's the highest praise that I can give it. Here's the thing: like people who are screaming about the Snyder Cut, like, don't understand how movies are made. Like, it's not like there's all these extra special effects and finished scenes like sitting in a box somewhere they can just splice in. Like you said, they spent a lot of money. I don't care how much money they can spend without getting actors back on a set and building new sets and going and finding special effects companies and spending. Like, you can't just recut a multi-million-dollar superhero money. That's not a thing that happens. This isn't Citizen Kane, where there's just a rolls of footage where you just go with scissors and like cut out the piece you want to fix and put it back in again. Like, that's not how movies are made anymore. So anyone who screams about the Snyder Cut, considering what part of the process he left the film, like, such a thing doesn't exist. You can't just do that unless it's the same director all the way through. Like, you can get that on certain films, like a Kingdom of Heaven, where like they did all the work and it was done, and then the studio went in after the fact and says, you have to re-edit this. That's not how this worked. Like, a different director came in at like the halfway point and finished the film. Like, you can't just like, I just don't understand these people. I don't understand people who are screaming for this thing and I just don't know what they think it's gonna be.
Well, we've talked about it a lot, right? Like, so my biggest problem with Justice League was that we do this whole thing to build the team because we need the team, because they all bring something new to the table. And Superman literally does everybody's job on the team. He's a better leader than Batman is throughout the movie. Like in the little bit that he comes back to, he's stronger than Aquaman and Wonder Woman, so he can take the fight on by himself when they both get beat. He's faster than the Flash, even though he's carrying like a whole damn house, and the Flash is just like pushing a truck. And the Flash his job was to get everybody out of the blast area or whatever. And he does all of those things at the same time. And the rest of so like, all right, well, we don't need a team? We just need Superman, apparently. Is Zack Snyder's cut going to fix that? Like, are they going to make Superman less powerful? Is it going to change fundamentally who these characters are? Does the Flash get faster? Does Aquaman and Wonder Woman get stronger in their universe? Like,
yeah, I don't like
the idea is fundamentally flawed, and I don't know if he's fixing that because
that was his idea.
Ideas aren't his strongest suit.
Yeah, and I also I'm also like, and like, not to be petty about it, but like, are you just gonna remake the movie? Because like, I feel like the Snyder Cut, if Snyder had finished the movie, it would have been bad. But he's had a long time to like fix it, and honestly, my biggest fear is not that we're gonna get the Snyder Cut and that it's going to be bad. Because I assume that'll happen. My concern is that we'll get the Snyder Cut and it'll be okay, and it'll get him a new lease on life to keep making DC movies that will continue to be dog shit. Like, I would actually rather it, and like that makes me sound like I'm on the opposite side of the people who are just like rabidly defending him, where I'm just rabidly shitting on him. But like,
we are.
I would no, but I mean, like, but not without reason. Like, without I'm trying to say I'm not wanting to do it, but I think it'd just be better for everyone involved.
Not doing it blindly.
If he just got yanked out of the, there's some really good DC movies being made right now. Apocalypse War just came out. It's the last in the 15 movies of the DC animated movie universe, like that had the Justice League Dark thing and the Son of the Bat. It just came out. That series is over. They're not perfect, but they're a lot of fun. These last 2 weeks episodes of Harley Quinn have been amazing. Get DC Unlimited for that, but just kill the DC movie universe where it is and start over again and just be done with it at this point.
I mean, that's the thing. We love these characters. People who listen to this think we obviously probably hate all DC characters, and that's why we don't like any of these movies. We love Batman. We love Superman. Like, and I want to see them done well. There's amazing stories that you can do with all of these characters, and they're just not doing them. They're doing crappy stories and making crappy movies, and that sucks. That really sucks. I want something better. Give us something better. And I'm with you, Tyler. I'm worried that the Snyder Cut will be received well enough to convince Warner Brothers to continue down that path whenever they decide to start making movies again.
Well, that's why I said
and that's terrifying.
Do we hand the reins back over after we had seen everything get its own personality? I think all the points kind of meld together there, because is okay as Aquaman was, it wasn't great. That was Jason Momoa, and that was a whole nother personality as opposed to the Aquaman that was in the Snyder, like portion at least of Justice League, to where it feels like they're just all there. Like, and it felt like in their movies, like Shazam, he's Shazam. It's Shazam's movie. And I feel like everything Zack Snyder will just be 300 part 10 with DC characters in it. I don't know, but we are out of time. I knew.
Are we still getting a James Gunn Suicide Squad? Maybe that will.
That's I think they're done filming, even if I remember correctly. So
maybe maybe some people at DC will watch that and be like, oh, you can make good movies with our characters. Fuck, our bad. We thought this was the best we could get.
Anyways, we are out of time. That's why we had to put those other headlines aside, but do check it out. Head on over to projectnerd.com. If you want more information on Snyder's Cut happening, we do have that news piece. We have a few more trailers that we didn't get to, a new Scream movie coming out, a lot of franchises happening. I'm sure a lot more news to come as things start to open back up and people on the studio side want to get things made again. So keep an eye on project-nerd.com for all that. Obviously, the Nerdcast is just one of many podcasts on the Project Nerd Podcast Network. So if you're getting us through Google, Apple, or any of those other means, head on over to projectnerd.com/podcast. Check out all the amazing podcasts we have each week, up to 5 or 6 new podcasts, some new series about to drop, a lot of exciting things happening. And of course, as we said, we are brought to you by Geek Garage. Without Geek Garage, it would be really hard to get some of these podcasts out. So definitely head on over to geek-garage.com or head over to their social media, start following them, tell them Project Nerd sent you. Check out all the cool parades that are happening. So much stuff to do while you're sitting at home that involves Project Nerd. And we're just getting started, guys. We have some big announcements around the corner. So check it out. Keep an eye on us. Adam, Tyler, thank you for your opinions this week, even on the Justice League stuff, Tyler. So with that.
I feel like someday we're just going to have to put a moratorium on us. We either need to do one of two things. Well, we just either need to be not allowed to talk about it or put limits on it, or we need to just make another podcast that only comes out like once a month. Like, here's our monthly, here's all the dumb shit that DC did with their movie universe.
That's fair.
People can go there for that.
We'll discuss that offline. Until then, next week when we complain more about DC, or we have something in place, as Tyler is proposing, same nerd time, same nerd channel. Hey, Pro Nerds, thanks for listening to the podcast. If you like the Nerdcast and other amazing Project Nerd podcasts, please go give us a subscription, a like, a review, wherever you find us, as we need your love and support to continue making awesome content. Next week, we'll be back with another great episode of Nerdcast, as well as other original Project Nerd podcasts.